Welcome back, boys. A long off season has now come and went. A lot of off season drama you saw with your ESPN notifications coming in. Maybe some receivers hitting some booger sugar on some boats. Maybe some usual domestic abuse DUI cases that we see every summer. We've gotten through all that drama, and football is officially here. First game will be this Thursday, so we decided to take this opportunity to go through everyone's big free agency signings this offseason, as well as draft coverage, any trades, franchise tags you may have made. And yeah, Nick, welcome back to the show. Long off season has come and gone, like I said. How has your summer been, and what are you most looking forward to this season?
Appreciate it, Travis. Yeah, it's been a long, nice off season. Doing a lot of golfing, getting outside, touching some grass this summer. But by the time Sunday rolls around, I'm gonna be your, old ass couch potato. I'm gonna be fucking locked in. So excited to be back. Excited that football's back. Got a great, I want to say great, but we got to get some college football back this week. Michigan State played on Friday, and excited now for the NFL. We're kicking off Thursday with Eagles Cowboys. Gotta love it.
Hell yeah. Can't wait to get back into the football action. So, without any further ado, we're going to start going through everyone's team here one by one and covering what kind of transactions they made this offseason. So, first up, we got Glizz Mafia here. Started things off hot with a big franchise tag given to CeeDee Lamb for 184 coins. CeeDee Lamb has been one of the top receivers in fantasy pretty much since he entered the league, maybe more like his sophomore year, but still just a reliable option. So definitely someone that this team wanted to have back in the room. They just decided to surround himself with some more great talent in the free agency. George Kittle, one of the best tight ends available this offseason. They went out and got him. They surrounded him with a bunch of Denver players in Cortland Sutton, the Broncos defense, and Will Lutz. And then adding in Dak Prescott stands out as one of their better backup signings. They'll have him backing up Trevor Lawrence most likely. And then they also did steal the Packers from Nick last minute in the silent auction. I know that probably broke Nick's heart a little bit. So hopefully they'll get some good use out of them. And then in the draft, they went and got Genty first overall, and then McMillan at fourth overall. And then they also got Izbuka in the first round, and then Tyler Warren rounded that out. So a bunch of really good. They had four first round picks overall. Looks like they spent them all wisely. We'll see how those age for them as time goes on. A couple more picks down at the bottom here. But yeah, Glizz Mafia looking to come out strong this year. We'll see how this team performs.
Yeah, next we'll head over to the Philly Cheekles here. Big thing for Blake this offseason was franchise tagging Jonathan Taylor for 207 coins, as that will be his RB1 heading into the year. And then Blake got really aggressive with the quarterback market. He had Brock Purdy under contract, but really wanted to go out and get one of those premier quarterbacks that were available in this free agency class, going and getting Jalen Hurts. I know it says Buffalo there. My bad, Philly. But for 110 coins, signing him to a 3-year deal. They were also in the market for Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes at certain points. And then from there, he was really focused in on kind of rounding out the edges here. Obviously, if it's the Philly Cheekles, they have to have the Detroit Lions. We got the Lions defense and Jake Bates kicking for them. Also getting some nice running back depth with Tyler Algier and Najee Harris. Also signing Khalil Shakir and Dallas Goedert to round out the skill position players, and then getting Jake Elliott as well as the Baltimore Ravens defense to round out the special teams. With the draft, they did not have a first round pick this year, but spent a majority of their picks wisely as they were able to acquire some different ones in different points of the draft. Going after everybody's favorite boy, Bill Krosky Merritt from Washington. Also tagging Trey Harris, Elijah Arroyo, Eric Ao Manor, maybe, Pat Bryant, and finally rounding it out with Kyle Montague. So they've definitely went and spent their money in specific strategic areas, and we're hoping to see this pay off for them this upcoming year.
All right, moving on next to the canned Pams. Some people call them the fan favorite. Some people call them the enemy of the fans.
I
But
would.
no matter how you feel about them, this team definitely got to work this offseason. First off, locking up Lamar Jackson with a 131 coin franchise tag. Definitely wanted to secure the quarterback position. Lamar is one of the best fantasy quarterbacks year in and year out. with his ability to do it on the ground as well as through the air. So with his reliability, they wanted to make sure he stuck around. They surrounded him with Kyron Williams, one of the better running backs available on the market, as well as A.J. Brown. I believe he was the top receiver available on the market. T.J. Hockenson, also a nice piece, as well as the Rams defense surrounded the starting lineup. And then they also went out and got Juwan Jennings and Kyle Pitts as some nice backup depth. Kyle Pitts, we'll see if this is the year he finally gets it going like everyone has always said he would. But if it is, then 11 coins is going to look like steel by the end of the year. The team also made a splash trading up in the draft to get a first round pick back to get Travis Hunter. So we'll see how that works out for them. Travis Hunter, obviously a very talented player coming off winning the Heisman, but if they just decide to up and move him to DB, uh, he's going to basically just have forfeited a first round pick. So we'll see how that plays out for him. And then they also started off the offseason by cutting Tony Pollard down here at the bottom, as you can see. Interesting decision. He was later scooped up in free agency for 50 coins. They said 143 was just a little too expensive for him, so they took the buyout instead. See how that plays out for him and if their running back depth is able to hold out throughout the year.
Next, we're going to go out to what everybody's fan favorite it actually is, Francy Feast. So Francy Feast this year started out the offseason making a big trade with FaZe Kev, acquiring Mark Andrews and DK Metcalf from FaZe Kev, as we'll get to them in a minute. They had a very active offseason. And to pair with that move, as they added 200 coins of salary onto their team with this trade, they did make the decision to cut Travis Etienne, who they signed for 230 coins last year, and just really didn't pan out for them. So they made that decision, which definitely looked like the right decision in the long run, as I did make a big swing for Bijan Robinson, and they did, and Matt decided to match. Great decision. Obviously, this is one of my favorite backs in the entire league. So they decided to use his RFA match rights to keep Bijan Robinson. So from that point, he was really just focusing in on trying to fit in those final couple pieces. We don't know what's happening with Joe Mixon right now, as there's a lot of interesting reporting, to say the least, around what his injury is. So Matt made it a point of emphasis to go and sign a running back towards the end of free agency, and he picked out Brian Robinson Jr. as his guy, spending 130 coins in the silent auction to make sure that he acquired him. From that point, he just wanted to, again, fill in the remaining pieces, getting Tyler Bass as his kicker this year, getting a little bit of tight end depth with Cade Otton, and welcoming Darren Waller back to Francy Feast, and also signing everybody's favorite Yun Hoku. In the draft, he went with R.J. Harvey first at the 5th pick, also scooping up some nice depth with Dylan Sampson, as we don't know what's happening with Quinshon Judkins, and finally rounding out with Tyler Shuck and Xavier Restrepo. This team definitely feels very top heavy, but if their team's able to stay healthy and push forward, this is definitely going to be a solid team in this upcoming year.
All right, moving on now to the defending champs of the league, Wallace Pluto 84. This team pretty much had their team set after the big free agency signings they made last season, but still had some room to add some nice pieces here. They had Jamar Chase, franchise tag to start things off for 184 coins. That ate up a lot of their budget. And then retaining Anthony Richardson as well as Jahmyr Gibbs on RFA contracts. Jahmyr Gibbs was bid up to 180, and they did decide to match that. So that pretty much tied up all their money. Not much after that they added on. Just the Commanders defense, Jason Meyer and Nick Folk, as you can see here. But they are surrounding that with Joe Burrow and Calvin Ridley and Justin Jefferson and Brock Bowers and a whole bunch of known dominant fantasy players. So this team should be pretty ready to roll this year. Definitely one of the favorites to win the title again. Out in the draft, they got Caleb Johnson at the back end of the first round, and then they got Jackson Dart, and who I think will be very good pick for quarterback as long as he ages well. He's not quite won the starting job in New York yet, but as soon as he gets it, I think that'll work out well for him. Paired that with another quarterback in Quinn Ewers, and then also a little brother Travis Etienne, Trevor Etienne, snagged up as well. And then he had to get his kicker in Tyler Lue. So we'll see how things plan out for this team. They're a little bit tight on the cap. Definitely have a lot of talent. And like I said, one of the favorites to run it back this year.
We'll go to what was one of the most active teams in the offseason, FaZe Kev. As we mentioned, FaZe Kev dealt out Mark Andrews and DK Metcalf to Francy Feast. They also made the decision at the beginning of free agency to cut Chris Olave and Dallas Goedert from their team, taking a little bit of a dead cap hit there, but giving themselves a lot of flexibility to go and get the players they wanted in free agency. They did go and make a big splash play for Drake London, as he was, I believe, the second highest receiver to get a contract, just behind AJ Brown, and then decided to make the big swing of flipping Saquon Barkley for Puka Nacua. With Travis's team, which he'll get to later, but he was really focusing in on getting a younger player signed into that 3-year deal for maybe a little bit less money since Saquon was on a 200 coin salary. Then he decided that he needed to get a little bit of running back depth, went and got James Conner for a pretty good deal, Jordan Mason as well, and then got some more receiver depth with Jacoby Myers, Jamison Williams, and rounded out with the tight end of Evan Ingram and picking up the Minnesota defense. In the draft, he went tight end immediately, getting Mason Taylor at the start of the second round, and then decided to go with Jaden Blue, running back for the Cowboys, and then finally rounding it out with some receiver depth, Jalen Noel for Houston, Torrey Horton for Seattle, and then Deontay Thornton for the Raiders. So this team looks a lot different than it did last year. Again, knowing that Kev was in the toilet bowl, he probably wanted to make a lot of changes, and we'll see if this pays off for him as we head into the new season.
All right, coming up next, PC Principal. Uh, Stuck to their usual strategy. Definitely likes their kind of guys and definitely uh, likes to spend right up to the contract limit to get them for as long as they can for as cheap as they can. Brees Hall ended up being the franchise tag here for 193 coins. Definitely has held his role for the Jets for the last few seasons. When he's been healthy, he's been great. So they're definitely hoping that he stays healthy this year and they're able to get a lot of productivity out of him. They also added some more running back depth in the form of Travis Etienne for 75 coins. And then they also added in the receiver room in the form of Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, and Jalen Waddle. So a nice trio of wide receiver depth to help support this team. They also have the young Jackson Smith and Jigba, who they retain on RFA rights this offseason at 100 coins. And then in the draft, this team was not super active. I don't believe they had a first round pick.
No, they this guy,
Yeah. Oh,
Marion
okay.
Hampton.
They got Omarion Hampton at second overall for 40 coins. He's expected to be one of the top young running backs this year coming out of the Chargers. And then another LA player plays for the Rams, however, Terrence Ferguson also joining the squad. I believe they got him in the second round. And then some nice depth pieces surrounded out in Taj Brooks, Jay Milrow, and Tez Johnson. And then I believe he had some buyouts to start this offseason as well. Is that correct? Yes. Started this offseason buying out Zach Moss and Justin Fields, decided to turn them back over to the free agency auction. I believe Justin Fields is still unsigned at this point, so that decision turned out to be a good one. But we'll see. Overall, looking at this team, they do have one trophy under their belt. We'll see how things are able to play out for them this upcoming season with all the moves they've made here.
Just love that the auto draft went and got Cooper, the backup Cincinnati running back. It was just like it knew. It knew 100% who he wanted. I love that for him. Next, moving over to Adam, who probably had the most cap space and ability to maneuver this offseason, as I want to say he had around 75% of his cap space available to play with. He definitely was very active, spending a decent chunk of his salary on some top end players. First off, he went for the top quarterback available with Josh Allen, paying what is now a record price for a quarterback contract at 150, I believe, topping Joe Burrow's 120 something that Noah set last year. So he made a big splash with Josh Allen. Then he was very active in the trade market, going trading for both Ramondre Stevenson and Devonta Smith to round out his RB2 and his wide receiver 2 once Rashee Rice comes back from his suspension. But Devonta Smith will play a very pivotal role for this team, especially in those first 6 weeks when Rasheed is on suspension. From there, again, they made a couple other big splashes with going and getting David Njoku to fill in the tight end spot, as this team notoriously has had Kyle Pitts for the last 3 years, so they went with a different route this year. Going and scooping up Mike Evans for 80 coins as well, and then getting what was last year's best defense in the Philadelphia Eagles for 15 coins was a very great signing. And then from there, just finally finalizing out a couple key positions with Matthew Stafford at backup quarterback, getting Michael Pittman back on this team, and also going out and trading for Jerry Jeudy. In the draft, they had the third overall pick and went for the big swing of Travion Henderson as the perfect handcuff and complement to his Ramondre Stevenson trade, and then decided to go with Jaden Higgins from Houston. Of course, Isaac Tesla just felt like a guy that would play for sticky mistakes from Detroit. So he comes into this team. Harold Fannin and Shador Sanders, as this guy just loves his Cleveland Browns with 4 of them this year. So definitely had the most interesting offseason in terms of the ability to play with a lot of money. And he used a lot of different avenues, whether it was free agencies, trades, through the draft to construct this team. We know that this team did lose the toilet bowl last year, so they're hoping that this reconstructed roster will be able to prove a lot better for them than last year.
All right, moving on now to yours truly at the Texas Ties 10 Fours. We also had ourselves quite a busy off season. We did not franchise tag anyone. We started off retaining Puka Nacua. He got bumped up to 135 on the open market. We decided to go ahead and match that. So that started things off for us. And then as free agency was going along, we were trying to add as much depth as we could. We went out and signed a nice pair of quarterbacks, we believe, in Jared Goff and Tua Tagovailoa. But neither of them have been world beaters fantasy-wise, but both have been proven commodities year in and year out as long as they're able to stay healthy. We also had to go and get Travis Kelce back in our locker room. He's been a long-time captain of this team, and we had to make sure that we had his leadership as he plays his one last ride in the NFL this season. Also added Tyreek Hill early in the auction. That was our biggest signing for 125 coins. He's also getting a little bit older, but he's been proven top 10 fantasy receiver year in and year out. We're hoping that remains the case this year. And then we had some nice depth pieces. We were able to scoop up running back Tony Pollard to give us a little bit more depth. And then added the Steelers and who was our other defense? I might only have one defense, right? And the Chiefs, that's right. Added the Steelers and the Chiefs on defense to round out a roster. And yeah, we're feeling pretty good about things. In the draft, we did trade away our first round pick to get Chris Olave. And then we also made the trade for sending Puka Nacua over to FaZe Kev in exchange for Saquon Barkley. We're feeling pretty good about that. We hate to see Puka Nacua go. He's served us well these last 2 seasons. However, you got to get running backs when they're available in fantasy, and there's not many others available this offseason. So when the offer for Saquon came in to our mailbox, we just had to go ahead and take it. Nothing personal against Puka, but the ability to get Saquon Barkley in our locker room was one we could not pass up on. And then in the draft, we got Quidshon Judkins in the second round. He is still not signed with Cleveland, has a little bit of a legal issue going on at the moment. We're hoping he's able to get that resolved. It sounds like he might sign soon, so we're hoping that's the case. Then we added to our Texas squad with Jack Beck, Luther Burden, and Jalen Royals later on in the draft. Overall, feeling pretty good about things. We should be a lot better than second to last this upcoming season. We have a lot more depth, but still hoping that we all stay healthy. And we were definitely active this offseason, making trades in the draft, using up all the clock, being active during the free agency, making trades during the free agency. We might not be done making trades yet. We'll see. I want to let our fan base know they should keep our eyes peeled and see what happens.
For us over here at the Cleveland Steamers, big thing going into free agency was to retain the guys that were on our team last year. And I think we did a really good job of doing that. Most importantly, Patrick Mahomes had to come back. I would have paid whatever. I needed him back. He's back. That was number one most important thing. Number two was to get a running back that was available. Again, we made big swings for Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. Both got matched, rightfully so. They're two of the best backs in the league. So we were able to transition and bring back Christian McCaffrey, who we traded for with the Texas size 10-4s last year. Really excited to get Christian back in the building. Also went out and re-signed Chuba Hubbard, who played really well for us last year, gave him a 3-year deal, which again was really important for us. And probably the most important once we decided to send Devontae Smith over to Sticky Mistakes, which literally I texted Adam, felt like I was losing a child. But we knew that he was going to a good home. And then at that point, we knew that Terry McLaurin had to be back in this locker room. So we went to silent auction with Tyler, won Terry McLaurin, and I could not be happier to have him back in this locker room. Additionally, this is the first time we've ever had a backup quarterback in 5 years of this league, and it's Justin Herbert, and I could not be more excited. I did not think that we were going to get him for this cheap, so I'm super excited. Also, he's now bagging Madison Beer, so that's incredible. Great vibes for the locker room. And then finally, rounding it out, again, we brought Kaimi Fairbairn and Cam Dicker back, who were both kickers for us previously, and then rounding it out with Arizona and Buffalo defense. In the draft, we did go with Colston Loveland with our first pick at pick 8. Again, loved this kid coming out of Michigan. Ben Johnson offense. Really excited for him in a couple years as we do have Trey McBride right now. Had to go get my Packers player, Matthew Golden. Really excited to have a Packer on this team for the first time in God knows how long. And then also picked up some running back depth later in the draft with Cam Scadaboo, DJ Giddens, and Brashard Smith. Oh, yeah, we also got BA back if you didn't know. That's our boy. And then, yeah, if you don't see over here in the purple, Odell has transitioned into a front office role this year as he's really excited to start his new journey as he still isn't signed yet, but he's excited to be in the front office, doing all his things, doing what Odell does, picking on Lemp in week 13. So, really excited about this year. Happy to have everybody back in the locker room that was here last year, and I'm excited to see how we can build off of last year's success.
Very nice. Can't wait to see what Cleveland Steamers are going to cook up this season. Nick, thank you for giving us the rundown of your roster there.
Yep.
I can see why you're excited. Getting Patrick Mahomes and Christian McCaffrey at the top is definitely going to be dangerous.
Pumped.
All right. Last thing we wanted to cover was an update to the trophy. Nick, do you have a picture of the trophy somewhere?
I can zoom in to this.
Yeah.
Can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me zoom in. Lamp, this is what one of these looks like, just letting you know.
So Nick and I have discussed, and after this past off season, when we tragically lost one of our good friends, Patrick Govan. Patrick was one of the biggest fans of our league. He was one of the few people outside of the league who actually watched this videos. And it was his shenanigans in the beginning that caused us to break off and have to start this league anyway. And now, 10 years later, here we are. So we have decided that we are going to rename the trophy after him and likely get his name inscribed into it as well. The official name, like the actual wording, is still up for discussion. So if anyone has any ideas, we're thinking Patrick Govan Memorial Cup or Memorial Trophy or something along those lines. If anyone has any ideas, please let us know. And yeah, Nick, if you have anything else you'd like to say on the topic.
Yeah, again, we all know what happened this summer. We were trying to think of a good way to make sure that he lives on through us. And we know that through all of our actions, we'll be able to do that. But if there was a way for us to permanently inscribe or to instill in something that we all have a bond over. We thought that was a really cool thing. Again, like the weirdest thing that when we come to think about this is Pat's actions senior year of high school really did kind of culminate in the start of this league when he sold off his team to just an incredible salesman who gave him a great pitch during AP Calc. And with that, and then what Wooster did the same thing, that's kind of when Travis decided to take the reins and make sure that everybody that was in this league was really committed and setting a lot more of those ground rules. So again, it's kind of funny to like look back and be like, okay, he had a really big part in starting this league. Like Travis mentioned, I remember he was one of the only people outside of this league that was subscribed to the channel. Like he would watch most weeks. Like he would make fun of Cleesby whenever we'd hop on games, whenever he'd lose. Was a big fan of Fuck Cleese season, and like he appeared in a couple videos when Bama lost to Tennessee. So he was a big part of the league in a way. And we just think this is the best way for us to really have his legacy carry on through something that we can physically put out there.
Very well put. Obviously, tragic accident this past summer. All we can do is keep him in our hearts and stick together and remember the good times we had with him. And we do believe this will be a good way. So, Nick, thanks again. Very well said there. Thanks for that rundown. Thanks, boys, for tuning in to the video this week. This is the first of many this season. We're going to try to be better about it. We're also going to open up some more opportunities for maybe some guest hosts. If anyone wants to take their swing at trying this thing, you will be free to do so. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, getting the rundown of everything that happened this off season. Nick, any final thoughts before we jump on here? You have 58 seconds, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, guys. Again, we're going to dedicate this season to Pat. Really excited to get started here. Again, I'm excited to see everybody. We're going to go out to Cincinnati in a couple weeks. Excited to see you all, and let's get after it this week. Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, full of NFL. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Thanks again for tuning in, boys. We'll see you this upcoming week. Peace out.